What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. My name is Joe Brown, and today we are concluding the four-part series on how to navigate a currency reset. The first part of the series was on your retirement investment account, your retirement portfolio, how to invest that. The second part of the series was the longest and most dense, and that was about how to invest your non-retirement assets, your taxable accounts. And the third part, that was just a couple of days ago, that was about your day-to-day habits, your bills, your debt, your banking, money coming in, going out, how to structure that in a way that will set you up for success to start as we start to go through a currency reset here. And so today what we're discussing is how to build an escape plan, how to build a lifeboat for yourself just in case things start to get really bad. You have an escape plan. Let's dive in. All right, so today we are discussing building an escape plan, a lifeboat, just in case things start to get really bad where you live. If you're watching this from the United States or Australia or Canada or another country, things can always devolve. We've seen empires fall. We've seen small countries and emerging markets devolve very quickly. And so things can always get bad regardless of how long they've been good where you live. And so today we're discussing what are some practical things that almost anybody can do to start to build a lifeboat, really, so that if things start to go down where you're at, you have a structure built that will allow you to escape easy, and you're not scrambling, in a mad dash for the exit at the same time as everybody else is. Now, it's intentional on my part that I'm calling this a lifeboat. We're not building a speedboat here or a cruise ship or a yacht. We're building a lifeboat here. So this isn't meant to be a massive investment on your part at this point. It's not meant to be something where you're pouring tens of thousands or millions of dollars into right now. At this point, you're just building a small blueprint, a fire escape plan, if you will, for your finances. And so in this video, we're going to talk about four main steps that you can take, and we're going to start off at the easiest and kind of advance the ones that are a little bit more expensive and a little bit more difficult, a little bit more advanced. The first thing that we're going to start doing is actually very easy. It's just start traveling. There are an astonishing number of people who have never left their country of birth. And so the first time that you leave your country, it is always a little bit of an eye-opening experience. And so don't just go to neighboring countries. Like if you're in the US, don't just travel down to Rocky Point or up to Toronto. Try doing some international travel where you actually have to plop down your passport. What this is going to do is it's going to start to normalize and allow you to experience what life is like and how it's not really that much different everywhere else. There are obviously going to be some big cultural differences, but not as big as you'd tend to imagine. It will allow you to start practicing with exchanging currencies and using local currencies for local shopping. It will get you in the habit of setting up arrangements before you get somewhere with locals on where you're going to stay. It'll allow you to start practicing with learning at least just tiny bits of other languages. Even if you're only in another place for a couple of weeks, it will still give you a tiny bit of a foundation that will serve you greatly if you ever have to do something like that and you've never experienced it voluntarily before. Now, I'm sure most of you have read this book, but Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, the last third of this book is kind of dedicated to travel, and it's a little bit old, so some of the information in there is outdated and doesn't apply anymore, but a lot of it still stands. Really just being creative on how to do this on a budget and how you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars. You can find little creative loopholes in the system, staying places for a little bit longer than you might think, connecting with people beforehand, making friends, getting creative with the countries that you choose. And so if you want a good written resource, I recommend that book just to kind of open your eyes to the possibilities for travel. And again, this is all just because you want to be able to start the process of understanding how to navigate the system of moving internationally voluntarily while you have the choice, so that you get the experience, so that if someday you ever have to, you already know the ropes. Now, the second thing kind of comes along with or after the first, and that is building a network of friends, of either expats, people that you know who have moved to other countries, or in your travels making friends with locals. Building a network of friends and people that you know in other countries. It is invaluable to know people who are in other countries that if push comes to shove, you could always call or hit up online one day and say, hey, I need some help. I'm going to be coming here. I need a place to stay. I need you to help me, point me in the right direction. It's invaluable to know people who are in other countries. And there are tons of online resources about this, forums, social groups, and networks you can join who have resources and know people and can connect with people all over the world. Now, the third thing is a little bit more advanced, and that is getting a second passport. Now, for some of us, it might come really easily if you have a parent or a grandparent or a family member who is a citizen of another country. It might be extremely simple for us to just get that second passport because of our birthright, because of our family members. We can just go and we can get dual citizenship. It is a fantastic backup plan to be a dual citizen, to be a citizen of another country, have another passport in your back pocket so that if you ever need to, if allegiances around the world change, you need to get to a certain country, and for some reason your current country, your current passport won't allow you to get there anymore, you have a backup plan. Now, this is something that, again, most people haven't thought about, but a lot of Americans come from family who moved here as immigrants. And so for a lot of us, there is an option to go get a second passport simply because our grandpa came from Italy. Now, for those of us who that isn't an option for, the other option is to simply get a passport through something like investing in another country. There are a lot of countries in Eastern Europe, in Southeast Asia, in Central or South America that will allow you to get a passport due to a certain amount of dollars invested in that country or due to a certain time that you spend living, being a resident of that country. And so if you're retired, if you don't have that many things keeping you here and you want to do the living one, if you've got a lot of money and you want to do it through an investment, these are all options for you to build a larger and more secure lifeboat for yourself, to have a second passport. That way, if you really need to, you are a citizen of another country. And my favorite resource for things like this is called Nomad Capitalist. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel. He's got a book on Amazon you can buy, and he has a business as well where he helps people start international businesses, move internationally, set up investments in other countries. And so great resource there at Nomad Capitalist if you want to start checking them out. Again, a lot of this, like I said, is just building the structure. So even just the knowledge that some of these things are available will really help you if you ever need to execute on them. And so just learning about these things, reading these books, watching these videos, talking to people who have done it is a fantastic first step to start to build out that structure for yourself if you ever need to act on it. And then the last thing that you can do to kind of build a lifeboat for yourself is to actually have investments located in other countries instead of just your country. Now, there are two ways to invest in other countries, and they each have their pros and cons. And I'm talking specifically if you are a U.S. citizen right now. There are reportable ways to invest in other countries and non-reportable ways to invest in other countries. And so your standard stocks, bonds, you have a bank account, those are going to be reportable to the IRS. And that's fine. You still have assets located, domiciled in other countries. And so that gives you some diversification. There's some pros and cons to it. And you still have to report it to the United States. And so Uncle Sam knows that you're doing that. Again, that's fine. We're not trying to be sneaky or dodgy here. We're not trying to break any laws, we're trying to be above board. We're just trying to give ourselves options. Now, the second way to do it is with non-reportable assets. And so there are ways to invest in other countries where you don't have to report that you own those assets to Uncle Sam. Again, completely legal. The Internal Revenue Code does not demand that you report these assets. And these tend to be physical assets that are not held with a financial institution. And so things like physical gold. If you own physical gold in private storage in another country, you don't have to tell Uncle Sam. If you own physical real estate in another country, you don't have to tell Uncle Sam. If you have physical currency, physical, actual stacks of currencies, physical cash in other countries, you don't have to report that. If you have bank accounts, that's different. Bank accounts, financial institutions, those are reportable. But if you have physical cash, that's non-reportable. If you have some collector's items like art, those things are not reportable. And so there are ways to have investments to hold wealth in assets in other countries that legally you don't have to tell the government about. And so these are kind of your more expensive, a little bit more advanced. You have to do a little bit more research and do a little bit more work to be able to get your hands on these and to be able to own these assets in these ways, but they're not out of reach by any stretch of the imagination. And these are ways that you can really bolster up that lifeboat so that if you need to and you hightail it somewhere, you have something waiting for you in the country that you go. Now, obviously, I'm just a guy on YouTube. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. So this is meant as education for you only, but hopefully I've provided you with some ideas that you had never thought of before and some resources that you can go deeper on this to get further educated so that you can start to implement some of these strategies that, just like insurance, you hope you never have to use it, but if you do need to use it, you're sure as hell glad it's there. So this concludes our 4-part series on how to navigate through a currency reset. If you enjoyed the video, help the channel out by hitting that like button. If you want one of these End the Fed shirts, they're in the shelf located below the video. If you scroll down, you click on it, you can buy it right there. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great day.